Hi, old guy in shed. Last time I was on, I just got the new, well not new, but I just got a little Marini 250. Got a Marini 250, lovely little bike, very pretty, and nothing to do. On previous episodes, for those of you who've been watching, I did a piece on the 350 Guzzi as opposed to the 380 Suzuki Triple. I said at the time that the Suzuki may have to go because it's the only Japanese bike in my shed and everything else is Italian. Well, I have actually sold the GT380, and of course, me being me, on the very same day I then purchased another Italian bike. Now this is a bike I've tried to find out information on and I found it very difficult. It's a bike I really quite like, and so without messing you about too much, I'm going to show you the bike. That'll be a good thing, and have a little chat about it, and explain why I bought it. And that's all very important. Explanations are sometimes very good. Sometimes they're worthwhile. Right, here we go. And there it is. This is a MV Agusta 350 GT, or Ipotesi, which literally translated says hypothesis or theory. There's some discussion as to which it is. Either way, it's a bloody stupid name for a motorcycle, but that's my opinion. Okay, a little bit about the bike. This particular bike, then we'll go generalise. This particular bike has been stored for a long time and had no work done, and it's a scruffy little bugger. That is why, really, one of the major reasons I've got it. The little 250 needed no work. As wonderful a bike as it is, I had nothing to do. This has given me a project. I will be documenting the project as we go. Okay, that's this bike and why I bought it. And to be very honest, I don't think I could afford a really tidy version of this bike because they are somewhat expensive. So I bought a less expensive version that needs a lot of work. Luckily for me, and I do mean luckily, it's got a rip in the seat, but the chap supplied me with a brand new, in the bag, new old stock seat. Brilliant, brand new seat. The other thing I got with it, these rubber surrounds here are all split, and two brand new ones of those as well. So some of the cosmetic stuff's already underway. I went online because these are the incorrect exhausts. I'm not too sure what they're off. I think they're off the little 175 maybe, or the 125 something. But anyway, they're wrong. They're not for this bike. And I found a chap in Italy who sold me a pair of repo ones which are exact to the bike. Which is really pleasing. They were quite inexpensive, I think €250 for the pair. I think that's reasonable. I think that's very reasonable. So I bought them. Anyway, back to the bit of history on the bike. They were building a 350 up until the 70s, which was looking dated, very round barrels, just dated. So they decided they wanted to revamp their middle range presence in the market, and they brought on Giorgetto Giugiaro, very influential designer of his time. For about 50-60 years this guy produced some real icons. The DeLorean, for one, he was involved in the DeLorean. He did work for Di Tommaso, he did work for Fiat, Alfa Romeo, massively influential. One of his biggest influences in design. He designed the Golf. The Volkswagen Mark I Golf was one of his designs, which is a massive influence on the world. He also designed things like Nikon cameras. Why wouldn't you as an automotive designer? And also, quite famously, he designed a set of watches for Seiko watches, and one of them, well, there was a set he did for the film Aliens, and the most famous one, of course, would be the Ripley, and it is known as the Seiko Ripley. And it's kind of an ugly watch, really, but because it was sci-fi, it's got a sci-fi look to it, and he penned the design, and Seiko made them and sold them for a lot of money, and they've become very collectible if you're in the collecting game of watches. Right, back to the bikes. He came in and he designed a lot of this bike. Some of the features I absolutely love. The way the frame follows the outer line of the tank is absolutely, it's typically MV, even though it's got his splash of design on it. Everybody else was using plastic and or tin side panels. These you can see right the way through. They are grills. The front here on the side, cast aluminium. Of course it is. Why wouldn't you? Make life hard. Things like the mud guards, stainless steel, still bright, still good. So little work, no work there to do. I have rims to sort out. They're rusty. So I have a tank to sort out. It's in it, the paint isn't good, and on the other far side here is some damage, paint damage, not tinware damage, where brake fluid has been dropped on the paint. So I don't know what to do yet. I don't know whether to just polish, repair the little bit of damage with the airbrush and then lacquer to keep the patina look, or to just have the tank redone or redo it myself even. Never done that. So I've got a lot of stripping down to do, a lot of work to do, but I will say, looking at the cases and the construction of this bike and the way they've made it, it is superb. You can see why they were a little bit more expensive, well, no, a lot more expensive than the competition. There's lots of detail touches that are just really nice, and the whole thing has a look to it. We as bikers, I guess, do sort of all have a different way with us. Some people love this look and that look. I for one, do like the style that the Italians produce. Italian motorbikes to me, by and large, obviously not everything, by and large, speak to me. And this particular bike, it really doesn't just speak to me. This thing is shouting at me. It needs the attention. It needs looking after. It needs bringing back to life. I have got a spark. I checked that. I've not started it. I'm not even going to attempt to start it until I've been through drained oil, because I know it's been stood for 4 years. But I just give it a little, turned it over, make sure it's running with the plugs out. Lo and behold, I had a little spark, because it's electronic ignition, so you don't need a battery. The forks are like pogo sticks. They're just bouncing up and down like mad, so I'm going to have to redo those. I believe they are Sirani forks, or Sirani, or however you pronounce it. So should be easy enough to get seals, which is very important. Likewise, the rear dampers, they're very soft, and they are a stock item, so we should be okay with that. Other than that, it's not in bad condition. The frame isn't wonderful. Again, when I start taking things off, I'll make decisions as I go. One of them being, do I take it completely apart and make this an absolute show bike? I doubt it. I don't do show bikes. I do bikes to ride, and I really do want to ride this bike, so I don't know how far I'll go with it. I'll go far enough to make me happy, and the hell with the rest of the world. So But it should be smart. It deserves to be a smart bike, if not an immaculate bike. And so there'll be a lot of cleaning going on and what have you. But like I say, it's a fascinating machine. It's got this history of MV, who were, until they went bust, they were a very influential manufacturer, especially with their Grand Prix wins. So I've never owned one. I have been on the internet and I can find very little information, whereas the Falconi, the Bonelli I have, the Marinis, the Guzzies, there's loads of people out there with loads of information. I think they only made a couple of thousand of these bloody things, so there's not a plethora of information. An awful lot of them went to America apparently, but I think it's quite a smart bike. They did two versions. They did this is the GT, and they did a sport version which came with clip-ons, and in fact that's the gap that the clip-ons went in, and they were always red, never anything but red from what I've seen. They had much smaller mudguards, sportier, usually in colour with the bike, had a little bump stop seat, just all to, I think it was only single seat, can't remember. Anyway, a much sportier thing all round, but it was exactly the same bike, The other interesting thing that I found trying to research the damn thing is horsepower. One article I read, the guy was saying this is a 350 blah 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 blah, wonderful, with 40 horse, and then in the spec on the same article said 27 horse. I've seen another one say that 35, so it produces some horsepower ish. Lord knows what and by what scale you're working on. So it pushes it down the road. So I will be just finding out for myself. To me, it will make very little difference how many horsepower it's got, because I'll ride it at the same speed as the Falconi, the 250 Bonelli, the Guzzies. It'll just get ridden at the same pace. Because all of these bikes, they're dear old ladies now. They don't need to be thrashed anymore. They go to tea dances, not discos. So it's a case of, it doesn't matter what the horsepower is. It's interesting pub talk, but that's about all. Like I say, I love the design of it. I love the style of it. I don't know whether it's me or whether it's just this paint job, but it's very reminiscent of a Triumph. I'd be argued with, but I don't know. But it looks well bigger than a 350. It looks chunkier, which is nice, really. It really is. It's a nice thing. I really like it. Like I say, it speaks to me. And as time goes by, I will be doing more and more bits about it, so you can follow the progress. Maybe if you're interested in following the progress, as to how far I go in bringing this old girl back to life. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, I think, and it'll be interesting to see how people react to it when I take it out on rides, because it staggers me when I go out on things like the Marini and the Guzzies and the Bonelli, all of my bikes, how many people, and I'm not talking about teenagers, I'm talking about guys in their 30s and 40s, they've never heard of them. Never heard of them. Whether they've heard of MV Agusta because of there's the new Agustas out there now. Having said that, I did have a chap come to me. He must have been in his late 20s, early 30s. He'd never heard of Moto Guzzi, and he was a biker. He'd always ridden bikes and never heard of Moto Guzzi, and I found that staggering. I just did. But anyway, they do have more of a a racing history, the old MV Agusta, in comparison. You know, when you think of Agostini, Surtees, Halewood, Phil Reed, all these people who rode them were quite the guys, weren't they? They were quite the guys. So I can't afford an America, so I've got a 350 GT. And that's for another story. And we'll see how we go. We'll just see how we go with it all. You know, if this is... Please say in the comments below if you want to see the restoration, well, or the strip downs and the putting back together, and the trials and tribulations I go through. If you're not interested, say so. If you are interested, say so. You know, particularly if you like the idea, hit the like and the subscribe button and make the comments. You know, I'm bloody freezing in here. I've had snow today, which is very unpleasant. Yeah, I'm actually cold in here today, so I'm going to call it done because I'm finished. And like I say, I'm a bit cold, so I'm going back in the house. I'm going to have a brew, and I've got a fire, and I didn't light it, which was a dumb move, really stupid. So I'll talk to you all again, folks. As I say, push the buttons below and make the comments, and then I can start work on this thing and start recording some of the stuff, and we'll see how we get on with it, and see if I can make you smile, because it's making me smile already. I mean, I'm just so thrilled with it. I'm really thrilled that I've got it, and because these things, they've been likened to the Ferrari of the bike world. You know, that sort of exclusivity. But it was Count, Domenico, Augusta and Enzo Ferrari. They've got those names, haven't they, you know? So I'm buggering off for a brew. See you later, guys. Bye.